It was a burning ache, a silent shout from the deepest tissue. Alice Williams felt the scar long before her eyes registered the surroundings. The thick, raised keloid across her left palm began to throb, a physical manifestation of a forgotten trauma. She opened her eyes. The room was wrong. Everything was wrong. She was encased in a bed of silk sheets, dazzlingly white, staring up at a cathedral-high ceiling designed to trap sound. Slowly, she lifted her left hand. The final, most shocking detail came into focus, a ring she did not recognize, a centerpiece of pure, cold wealth, a single, flawless, immense black diamond, a stone worth more than the accumulated history of her entire bloodline. Her heart stopped. This wasn't a ring. This was a brand, a collar made of carbon and promises. She bolted upright and the world fractured into razor-sharp clarity. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed Seoul sprawling below, like a kingdom of neon and shadows. Furniture that whispered old money, blood money, the kind of wealth that required bodies in its foundation. And there, draped across a chair like a discarded identity, a man's suit, midnight black, still warm. Someone had been watching her sleep. Panic clawed up her throat. She looked down. A crimson silk nightgown clung to her body, expensive as sin, familiar as a stranger's hands. Her last memory surfaced like a drowning victim. Club Exodus in Gangnam. Her roommate Bria. Shots that tasted like liquid starlight and poor decisions. A man's voice in the dark, smooth as a blade drawn across silk. Then nothing. Just void. Just this. The door opened. He didn't walk in. He arrived, like darkness given form and purpose. Tall enough to blot out light, sharp suit that probably cost more than her student loans. A face carved from marble and cruelty, beautiful in the way a funeral is beautiful. Inevitable. Final. And those eyes. God, those eyes. Black as the diamond on her finger, cold as the space between stars. He held a coffee cup like a king holds a scepter. Casual. Absolute. "You're awake," he said. His English was perfect. Accent barely there, like he'd learned the language just to weaponize it. "Excellent. We have matters to discuss, specifically our marriage." The word detonated in her skull. "Marriage?" Her voice came out strangled, small, not hers at all. He raised his left hand. Same ring, same black diamond, same nightmare wearing different skin. "Welcome to your new life, Mrs. Choi." "I'm Choi Daewon." He smiled, and it was the cruelest thing she'd ever seen. According to these documents, he produced papers like a magician revealing the final trick. "You belong to me now." Alice's breath turned to glass in her lungs. I would never. This isn't. Yet, here we are. Daewon crossed the room, each step measured, predatory. "Last night at Club Exodus, you were magnificently intoxicated. You approached me. Begged me, actually. Said you'd do anything to avoid deportation. So I gave you a solution. I married you." The room tilted sideways. "That's impossible. My visa is valid until next summer. I'm not getting deported. I'm a graduate student. I have rights. You had rights." He set the coffee down on the nightstand, too close, invading her space without touching her. "Until 48 hours ago when your university discovered your research plagiarism. Quite damning, actually. Entire sections lifted from published papers. They expelled you. Immigration revoked your visa. You have 72 hours to leave South Korea." Her world imploded. "I didn't plagiarize anything. Every word of that thesis was mine. I spent 2 years. I know." His smile sharpened. "Because I wrote the plagiarized sections myself. Hired someone to slip them into your submission. Paid the right people to discover them at precisely the right moment." He tilted his head, studying her like a specimen. "You needed saving. I needed a wife. We made a transaction." The coffee in her stomach turned to acid. You destroyed my life. Why would you?" "Because my grandfather's will requires me to be married before my 28th birthday to inherit Choi Industries. That's today. Exactly today." He checked his watch. "A timepiece worth more than her childhood home. I had 6 hours when I met you. You were desperate, drunk, and American. Perfect. Alice's hands clenched into fists. This is kidnapping. Fraud. I'm going to the police. I'm going to... To whom? Daewon's voice dropped to a whisper, more terrifying than any shout. The police commissioner is my godfather. The American Embassy's cultural attaché owes me 3 substantial favors. Your university's board. I own 4 of the 7 members. He leaned in close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and suffocating. You have no allies here, Alice. Only me. She wanted to scream, to fight, to wake up. Instead, she met his eyes. What do you want from me? 1 year. His answer came swift as a guillotine. Play the devoted wife. Convince my family this marriage is legitimate. In exchange, I'll restore your academic standing, secure a new visa, and transfer 10 million won to your account when we divorce. Everyone wins. And if I refuse? Then I'll ensure you're not just deported. He straightened, adjusting his cuffs with casual menace. Your mother, Grace Williams, nurse practitioner in Chicago. Your twin brothers Joshua and Caleb, sophomores at Illinois State. It would be unfortunate if their scholarships vanished, if your mother faced sudden malpractice allegations, if accidents happened. The threat hung in the air like a noose. Alice's voice emerged cold, dead, not hers. You're a monster. Yes. Daewon headed for the door, then paused. But I'm the monster who controls your future. Adapt quickly, Mrs. Choi. We have a family dinner tonight. Disappoint me, and your family pays the price. The door closed. Alice sat in silence, the black diamond on her finger catching light like a captive star, and realized she'd been swallowed by something that wouldn't spit her out until it had consumed everything she was. The game had begun, and she was already losing. The penthouse was a cage made of glass and gold. Alice spent 3 hours testing every exit, every window, every door, all locked, all monitored. Security cameras watched from corners like mechanical ravens. She found 15 before giving up. There were probably 50 more. She wasn't just trapped. She was studying. The penthouse sprawled across the entire top floor of the building, 6 bedrooms, each larger than her apartment back in Chicago. A kitchen equipped like a Michelin star restaurant. A gym with equipment she didn't recognize. A library filled with books in languages she couldn't read. A wine cellar that probably cost more than a small country's GDP. Everywhere she looked, wealth stared back at her, cold and indifferent. In the kitchen, she discovered a private chef preparing bulgogi. Middle-aged woman, kind eyes, apologetic smile. Mrs. Choi, the woman bowed deeply. I'm Chef Kim. Mr. Choi instructed me to prepare your favorite dishes. If you could tell me your preferences... Get out. The words erupted from Alice like a feral thing. Chef Kim's eyes widened, confusion and hurt flickering across her features. She bowed lower, scurrying away. The door clicked shut. Alice stood alone in the gleaming kitchen, surrounded by appliances worth more than her college education, and laughed. It came out broken, wrong. The laugh of someone realizing the trap doesn't just lock you in. It becomes you. She opened cabinets at random, found plates from Italy, glasses from the Czech Republic, spices from places she'd never visit. Everything foreign, everything is expensive, everything is wrong. Her phone was gone. She'd searched every pocket, every drawer. Daewon had taken it, isolated her. Cut her off from Bria, from her family, from anyone who might help. She was alone in a golden cage with a monster who owned everything, including her. The panic attack hit like a freight train. Her chest was constricted. Vision tunneled. She collapsed against the marble counter, gasping, drowning in air that suddenly felt too thick to breathe. This isn't real. This isn't happening. This isn't... But it was. The ring on her finger proved it. The marriage certificate she'd seen proved it. The look in Daewon's eyes proved it. She was Mrs. Choi. And that title was a death sentence wearing a diamond ring. When she could breathe again, when the world stopped spinning, Alice made a decision. If she was trapped here, she'd learn everything. every secret, every weakness, every crack in Daewon's armor. Because monsters weren't invincible, they just wanted you to think they were. She found his study on the second floor. No lock. He wanted her to find it. I wanted her to see. The walls were lined with articles, business magazines with his face on the cover. The Serpent of Seoul. Korea's youngest billionaire. The man who never loses. She read them all, horror mounting with each paragraph. Choi Daewon. I'm 27 years old, CEO of Choi Industries after his father's mysterious death 3 years ago. Known for hostile takeovers so brutal the business community called them bloodbaths. Rumored connections to organized crime. Multiple investigations that went nowhere. Witnesses who recanted. Competitors who disappeared. The articles painted a picture of a man who played chess with human lives. Who destroyed companies not because he needed to, but because he could. Who collected enemies like other people collected art. One article detailed a hostile takeover of a pharmaceutical company. The CEO had refused to sell. 2 weeks later, his daughter was kidnapped. She was returned unharmed after he signed over controlling shares. The police investigation went nowhere. Daewon's name never appeared in official reports, but everyone knew. Another article mentioned a journalist who'd been investigating Choi Industries for corruption. She published 2 exposés. Then she stopped, moved to Canada, refused to speak about it. The article mentioned she'd been seen with visible bruises before leaving. Alice's hands shook as she read. This wasn't just a ruthless businessman. This was someone who understood that fear was more effective than force, that the threat of violence was often more powerful than violence itself. She kept searching, found financial records hidden in a locked drawer. Not well hidden. He wanted her to find these too. Shell companies, offshore accounts, money moving through countries like water through a sieve. Legal probably, but barely. The kind of legal that required lawyers who specialized in making problems disappear. Then she found the photos. A file folder, cream-colored, expensive paper. Inside, photos of a woman. Beautiful. Chinese, smiling in some, serious in others. Always elegant. Always perfect. Lin Xiaowen. The last photo was different. A newspaper clipping. Chinese national Lin Xiaowen found dead in apparent suicide. Authorities close case despite family's protests. The article was brief. Car found at the bottom of Bukhansan Cliff. No witnesses. Security footage mysteriously corrupted. The family claimed she was terrified, wanted to escape Korea, and begged them for help. Police found nothing suspicious, but there was another clipping underneath. Smaller. From a Chinese newspaper translated by hand. Lin family claims daughter was murdered. Choi Daewon named as suspect. Korean authorities refuse extradition requests. And beneath that, a handwritten note. Daewon's handwriting, she'd recognize it from the marriage papers. She tried to run. They always do. Learn from her mistakes, whoever reads this. The folder slipped from Alice's hands. He'd done this before. Trapped a woman, married her, and when she tried to escape, a sound behind her. Alice spun. Daewon stood in the doorway, still in his suit, tie loosened, looking at her with something almost like curiosity. Not anger, not surprising, just interest, like she was a lab rat doing something unexpected. Find anything interesting? You killed her. Alice's voice shook. Your last wife. You killed her. The police ruled it suicide. Daewon entered the study, moving to the bar cart with casual grace. Seowen had difficulties. Adjusting to our arrangement, he poured whiskey, the sound obscenely casual. She tried to run. Her car went off Bukhansan Cliff at 3 a.m. Very tragic. He took a sip, watching her over the rim of the glass. Did you push her? He met her eyes. I didn't have to. The admission was worse than a confession. It meant he'd broken her so completely she'd chosen death over staying with him. Alice backed toward the door. I'm not her. I won't break like she did. No. Daewon smiled, and it reached his eyes this time, making them even colder. You'll break differently. That's what makes this interesting. Xiaowen was fragile. Beautiful, but fragile. You? He gestured with his glass. You have fire. I'm curious how long it takes to extinguish. You're insane, probably, he finished his whiskey. But I'm insane with unlimited resources and no conscience. That's a dangerous combination for you, Mrs. Choi. Stop calling me that. But it's your name now? Legally. Permanently. For the next year at least. He set down the glass. We should discuss tonight's dinner. My family will be watching for cracks. Show them any, and they'll exploit them. My grandfather especially. He's very good at finding weaknesses. I'm not going. You are. Daewon's voice didn't rise, but something in it changed. Became absolute. Or, I make a phone call. Your mother receives a visit from the medical board. Anonymous tip about opioid diversion. False, of course, but the investigation alone will destroy her career. Your brothers lose their scholarships. Clerical error, very unfortunate. And you? He stepped closer. You watch it all happen from this penthouse, knowing you could have prevented it. Alice's nails dug into her palms. One day, she said quietly, one day you're going to underestimate me. And that will be the day you lose everything. Daewon's smile widened. I look forward to it. Now, go get ready. We leave in 2 hours. Wear the red dress. The one that makes you look like you belong in my world. He left. Alice stood in his study, surrounded by evidence of his monstrosity, and made a promise to herself. She would survive this, and then she would destroy him. Not with violence, not with escape, with something far more devastating. She would make him love her. Then she would break his heart the way he broke everything else. It was a dangerous game, probably a fatal one, but it was the only move she had left. That night, Alice didn't sleep. She sat by the window, watching Seoul breathe below, the black diamond on her finger catching moonlight, and planned. Not escape. He'd hunt her. Not compliance. She'd lose herself. No. Something else. The city sprawled beneath her like a circuit board, lights connecting in patterns she couldn't decipher. Somewhere down there, people were living normal lives, going to normal jobs, having normal relationships. They had no idea that high above them, a woman was trapped in a nightmare wearing a designer gown. She thought about her family. Her mother, working double shifts at the hospital, sacrificed everything so Alice could study abroad. Her brothers, brilliant and young and full of dreams. They didn't know she was married, didn't know she was trapped, didn't know their lives hung by a thread connected to a monster's whims. She couldn't let Daewon hurt them, which meant she had to play this game perfectly. But what did perfect look like? She examined the ring on her finger, black diamond, rare, expensive, but also significant. Black diamonds were called carbonados, formed under extreme pressure. Virtually indestructible, they didn't sparkle like traditional diamonds. They absorbed light, like her. Daewon thought he'd trapped a victim, someone fragile he could control, then discard. He'd actually trapped something that had survived poverty, racism, and working 3 jobs while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. Something that had clawed its way from Chicago's South Side to a graduate program in Seoul through pure determination. He'd trapped a survivor, and survivors didn't break. They adapted. Alice stood, moving to the mirror. The woman looking back wasn't the girl who'd arrived in Seoul 2 years ago, wide-eyed and hopeful. That girl was gone, murdered by a black diamond and a marriage certificate. This woman was different, harder, colder. This woman could play the game. She practiced her smile, loving wife, devoted spouse. The mask she'd wear to the family dinner. It came easier than she expected. Maybe because she'd been wearing masks her whole life. The scholarship student who belonged at prestigious universities. The black women in predominantly white spaces who had to be twice as good to be considered half as capable. The daughter who called home every week pretending everything was fine when her stipend barely covered rent. One more mask. What was one more? By the time dawn broke over Seoul, Alice had a plan. Risky, insane, probably fatal, but better than drowning in silk sheets and golden cages. If she was trapped in this game, she'd learn the rules. Then she'd rewrite them. The stylist arrived at noon. A severe woman named Lee, who looked at Alice like she was a particularly challenging sculpture. "Mr. Choi has selected your wardrobe," Lee said, unpacking garment bags. "Tonight you must look perfect. The family will be judging everything. Your appearance, your manner, your worthiness." Worthiness for what? To be Choi. Lee pulled out the red dress. "In this family, everything is a test. Tonight is your first. Do not fail." The dress was a masterpiece. Scarlet silk that clung like a second skin, designed by someone who understood that power dressing meant showing just enough skin to be noticed, but never enough to be dismissed. The neckline plunged. The back was bare. The slit reached mid-thigh. It was armor disguised as seduction. Lee worked on Alice's hair, straightening her natural curls into a sleek curtain that fell past her shoulders. Makeup came next. Dramatic eyes, red lips, contouring that sharpened her cheekbones into weapons. When Lee finished, Alice barely recognized herself. The woman in the mirror looked expensive, powerful, like she belonged in Daewon's world. "Perfect," Lee said, approval in her voice for the first time. "Now remember, smile but not too much. Speak, but only when spoken to. Touch Mr. Choi frequently, small gestures that show affection, and never ever challenge his authority in public. Do you understand?" Alice met her eyes in the mirror. "Perfectly." Lee nodded. "Good. The Choi family destroys weakness. Show them strength, and you might survive." After Lee left, Alice stood in front of the mirror, studying her transformation. She looked like a different person. I felt like one too. Maybe that was the point. Maybe to survive this, she had to become someone else entirely. Daewon arrived at precisely 6 o'clock. He knocked once, then entered without waiting for permission. Because in his world, permission was irrelevant. Everything belonged to him. He stopped when he saw her. For the first time since she'd met him, something flickered across his face. Not desire exactly, something colder, satisfaction, like a collector admiring a new acquisition. "You look acceptable," he said. "I look stunning, and you know it." His eyebrow raised. "Careful. Confidence is attractive, but arrogance will get you hurt tonight. It's fortunate that I learned the difference years ago." Alice picked up the clutch Lee had provided. "Shall we?" Daewon studied her for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. Curiosity. Maybe respect. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Tears. Begging. The usual hysteria." "Sorry to disappoint, you haven't." He offered his arm. "You've actually made this interesting. Most women I've acquired break within 48 hours. You're still fighting. I appreciate that." Alice took his arm, her skin crawling at the contact. "Don't appreciate it too much. I'm only fighting because killing you in your sleep would be too merciful." Daewon laughed. Actually, I laughed. The sound was startling, almost human. "There she is, the woman I married." He led her toward the elevator. "Keep that fire tonight. My family respects strength. Show them anything less and they'll tear you apart." The ride down was silent. Alice watched the numbers descend, each floor taking her deeper into whatever fresh hell awaited. In the parking garage, a Bentley waited. Midnight black. Driver in a formal suit. Daewon opened the door for her, a mockery of chivalry. Inside, the leather smelled expensive, like everything in his world. "Tell me about your family," Alice said as they pulled into Seoul's traffic. "If I'm going to perform, I need to know my audience." Daewon gazed out the window. "My grandfather built Choi Industries from nothing. He's 87 now, but sharper than most men half his age. He believes in traditional values, strength, loyalty, family. He'll test you tonight." Probably insult you. Don't react. That's what he wants. And your brother, Daewon's jaw tightened. Hyun-woo is complicated. He was supposed to inherit the company. Until I proved myself more capable. He's bitter about it. Rightfully so. I destroyed his dreams to fulfill mine. At least you're honest about being a monster. Honesty is a luxury only the powerful can afford. He turned to face her. There will be others there tonight. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all vipers. They'll smile while plotting your destruction. Trust none of them, including you, especially me. The Bentley climbed into the hills above Seoul, where the truly wealthy lived, away from the masses. The estates grew larger, the walls higher, the distance between properties more vast. Finally they arrived. The Choi family estate made the penthouse look like a hotel room. The compound sprawled across acres, ancient architecture married to modern excess, gardens that required 20 full-time staff, a driveway longer than her childhood street, walls topped with security cameras, and probably more. This wasn't a home. It was a fortress, a kingdom, a monument to the kind of wealth that shaped nations. Alice stepped from the Bentley in her scarlet gown, the black diamond on her finger catching the estate's exterior lights, and felt every eye in the universe turn toward her. Daewon's hand found the small of her back, possessive, burning through the fabric. Smile, he murmured against her ear. You're desperately in love with me. Can you manage that? I'm desperately planning your funeral. Can you manage that? His laugh was genuine, brief, almost human. There's my wife. Inside, the Choi family waited like a tribunal. Old money, old blood, old hatreds in expensive suits. The entry hall alone could have housed 50 families. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers. Artwork worth more than most people earned in lifetimes. And in the center of it all, the family. Daewon's grandfather sat in a chair that might as well have been a throne. Ancient, sharp, eyes like a hawk that had learned to enjoy the kill. Around him, a constellation of relatives, all watching, all judging, all waiting to see if the American girl would crumble. Halmeoni. Daewon bowed, using the Korean term of respect. May I present my wife, Alice Williams Choi. Every syllable of her new name felt like a chain. The grandfather's eyes raked over her, assessing, calculating, probably determining her worth down to the penny. So, his voice carried like a judge's gavel. The American. You move quickly, Daewon. When I identify an asset worth acquiring, I don't hesitate. Daewon pulled Alice closer, his arm around her waist now, claiming her in front of everyone. Isn't that right, beloved? The endearment tasted like poison in the air. Alice forced a smile, the one she'd practiced. He makes it impossible to say no. Laughter rippled through the room. Approving. They liked that answer. The grandfather's eyes gleamed. Good. The weak inherit nothing. Daewon understands that. Unlike some. His gaze shifted across the room. A man stood there, separate from the others. Same sharp features as Daewon, same height, same build. But where Daewon controlled the ice, this man barely contained fire. Fury radiated from him in waves. Hyun-woo, the brother who should have inherited everything. You actually did it, Hyun-woo snarled, advancing. Married a complete stranger just to steal what's rightfully mine. Careful, brother. Daewon's voice dropped. You're embarrassing yourself? Embarrassing myself? Hyun-woo laughed bitterly. You orchestrated a marriage in hours just to meet grandfather's deadline. You trapped some poor woman. I married for love. Daewon's smile was a blade. You should try it. I hear it's quite fulfilling. Hyun-woo's gaze landed on Alice, and in his eyes she saw something unexpected. Grief, deep, raw, unhealed. Does she know? Hyun-woo's voice cracked. Does she know what you are? What did you do to? That name, the dead wife. Careful, Daewon warned, his body tensing. She deserves to know the truth. That my brother is a murderer. That Xiaowen was my... His voice broke completely. that she was going to marry me before you stole her, before you trapped her, before you killed her. The room went silent. Alice felt the weight of every eye, watching, waiting. This was the test. How she reacted would determine everything. Daewon moved like violence personified. His fist connected with Hyunwoo's jaw. The crack echoed through the mansion. Hyunwoo staggered back, blood blooming at the corner of his mouth. Security swarmed instantly. 4 men in black suits materialized from nowhere, grabbing Daewon's arms. 2 more restrained Hyunwoo. Enough. The grandfather's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Both of you. This is a family dinner, not a boxing ring. When he started it, Hyunwoo spat blood on his lips. He always does. He destroys everything he touches. And yet I'm the one who saved this family. Daewon straightened his suit, perfectly composed despite having just committed violence. While you were writing poetry and chasing dreams, I was building an empire by killing your competition. Hyunwoo's eyes were wild now, by threatening anyone who stood in your way, by murdering. That's enough. The grandfather stood. His age seemed to fall away, revealing the man who'd built an empire through ruthlessness. Hyunwoo, you will leave. Now. Return when you've learned to control yourself. But grandfather, Now. Security escorted Hyunwoo out. He didn't fight, just looked back at Alice one last time and mouthed 2 words. Run. Please. Then he was gone. The dinner proceeded as though nothing had happened, because in this family, violence was probably routine, expected, maybe even encouraged. Alice sat beside Daewon at a table that could seat 30. Crystal glasses, gold-rimmed plates, food prepared by chefs whose restaurants had Michelin stars. Everything is perfect. Everything is expensive. Everything is hollow. She played her part, smiled when appropriate, laughed at jokes that weren't funny. Let Daewon's hand rest on her thigh under the table, proprietary and threatening. The family asked questions. Where was she from? What did she study? How did they meet? Daewon answered most of them, spinning a fairy tale about love at first sight. The family nodded along, pretending to believe everyone playing their parts in this elaborate theatre. But Alice watched them. Really watched. The grandfather, studying her like a chess piece, calculating her value. The aunts, whispering behind their hands, probably discussing how inappropriate she was. The uncles, looking at her with expressions ranging from pity to hunger. The cousins, young and cruel, are already planning how to exploit any weakness. This family wasn't just wealthy, they were predators. And she was the newest prey. Your Korean is poor, one aunt said, her English heavily accented but clear. How will you manage in our country? I'm a fast learner, Alice replied smoothly. And I believe love transcends language barriers. More approving nods. The right answer. Does your family approve of this marriage? Another aunt asked. So sudden, so unusual. My mother always told me when you know. Alice glanced at Daewon. The moment I met him, I knew my life would never be the same. That, at least, was true. The grandfather raised his glass. To new beginnings, and to Daewon for securing his inheritance and, perhaps, finding something worth more than money. Everyone drank. Alice noticed Daewon's hand tightening on his glass, just slightly. A crack in his composure. Interesting. After dinner, there were drinks in the garden. Alice stood near a fountain pretending to admire it, while Daewon spoke with his grandfather. Around her, the family circulated, a complex social dance she didn't fully understand. Mrs. Choi. She turned. A young woman approached, mid-20s. Beautiful. Designer everything. I'm Minji, Daewon's cousin. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Welcome to the family. Thank you. I knew Xiaowen. Minji's voice dropped. Daewon's first wife. She was lovely, before she died. Such a tragedy. So I've heard. Minji stepped closer. She tried to warn me, before she died. Said Daewon wasn't what he seemed, that behind the perfect facade was something monstrous, Minji's smile sharpened, but I didn't believe her, not until they found her car at the bottom of that cliff. What are you saying? I'm saying be careful, Mrs. Choi. Daewon collects beautiful things, but when they no longer serve his purpose, he discards them, permanently. Minji walked away, leaving Alice standing by the fountain, her blood ice cold. 2 people now, Hyunwoo and Minji. Both warn her, both implying the same thing. Daewon had killed his first wife. The question was simple. Would Alice be the second? The ride back to the penthouse was silent. Daewon stared out the window, jaw tight, clearly still furious about Hyunwoo's outburst. Alice watched him. I really watched him, trying to see past the perfect facade to whatever lurked beneath. You did well tonight, he finally said. Better than I expected. Your family is terrifying. They're supposed to be. Fear is how we maintain control. He turned to face her. But you weren't afraid. Or if you were, you hid it perfectly. I've been hiding fear my whole life. Growing up where I did, you learn fast that showing weakness gets you hurt. Something flickered in his eyes, almost like understanding. Where did you grow up? Southside Chicago. You wouldn't survive a day there. Probably not. His lips curved slightly. But then, you won't survive long in my world either. Different predators, same rules. Maybe I'm tougher than you think. Maybe. He studied her. Or maybe you're just better at lying to yourself. They reached the penthouse. Alice headed straight for her room, but Daewon's voice stopped her. Alice. She turned. About Hyunwoo, about what he said. He moved closer, each step measured. It's not what you think. You mean you didn't steal his fiancée and drive her to suicide? That's exactly what I did. Daewon didn't flinch, but not for the reasons he believes. Then, enlighten me. Xiaowen was arranged to marry Hyunwoo. Their families had agreed. But she came to me, said she loved me, not him. Begged me to save her from a loveless marriage. His expression was unreadable. So I did. I married her, gave her what she wanted. And then? Then she realized love wasn't enough. That being married to me meant being isolated, controlled, owned. He poured himself a drink. She tried to leave 3 times. Each time I brought her back. The 4th time she didn't leave a note, just drove her car off a cliff in the middle of the night. Did you push her? Daewon drained his glass. I didn't have to. She chose death over me. That's worse than murder. It means I'm so monstrous that death seemed like the better option. The honesty shocked her. There was no pride in his voice, no satisfaction, just emptiness. Why are you telling me this? Because you should know what you're dealing with. I destroy everything I touch, Alice. Everyone I claim to love either leaves or dies. It's not intentional. It's just what I am. He set down his glass and headed for his room. Sweet dreams, Mrs. Choi. Try not to plot my murder too loudly. The walls are thin. He disappeared, leaving Alice alone in the vast living room, and for the first time, she wondered if maybe Daewon wasn't the monster. Maybe he was the victim of whatever had made him this way. And maybe, just maybe, that was more dangerous than simple evil. Because monsters could be fought, but victims could be saved. And saving Daewon might destroy her faster than hating him ever could. Days blurred together. Alice existed in a strange limbo. Not quite a prisoner, not quite a wife. Daewon left early each morning, returned late each night. They barely spoke. When they did, it was functional, polite, cold. She resumed her studies. Her expulsion had been mysteriously reversed. Plagiarism allegations dropped. The professors apologized for the misunderstanding. Her visa was reinstated. All of it Daewon's doing. He could destroy her life with a phone call, or restore it just as easily. That kind of power should have terrified her. It did. But it also fascinated her. She started observing him. Really observing. The way he moved, the way he thought, the patterns. He woke at 5. I worked out for exactly 1 hour, showered for precisely 15 minutes. Breakfast was always the same: black coffee, whole wheat toast, 2 eggs. Then he'd leave, returning 12 to 14 hours later. He never brought work home, never took personal calls in her presence, kept his professional life completely separate from whatever this was. He slept exactly 6 hours. She knew because she could hear him through the walls. His bedroom was next to hers. She'd lie awake, listening to his breathing, wondering what dreams haunted a man like that. Sometimes she'd hear him wake in the night, hear him pacing. Once she heard him crying, real broken sobs that made her chest ache. She almost went to him that night, almost knocked on his door, but she didn't. Because sympathy was dangerous, it made monsters human, and humans could be forgiven. She couldn't afford to forgive him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. 2 weeks after the family dinner, everything changed. Alice was in the kitchen making lunch when her new phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. "Hello? Mrs. Choi." The voice was male. "Unfamiliar. This is Attorney Jung. Park Hyun-woo asked me to contact you." Her blood chilled. "I don't think I should be talking to you. Please, just listen. Hyun-woo wants to help you. He has information about Daewon, about what really happened to Daewon. Meet him tomorrow, 2 p.m. Bukchon Hanok Village. Come alone." The line went dead. Alice stared at the phone. This was a trap. Had to be. Daewon tested her loyalty. Or worse, Hyun-woo planning something that would get her killed. But what if it wasn't? What if Hyun-woo actually had proof? Evidence that could free her? She thought about it all day, through dinner, through the evening, while Daewon worked in his study, probably rearranging someone's life like chess pieces. Finally, she made a decision. She would go. Not because she trusted Hyun-woo, but because she needed to know the truth. All of it. Even if it killed her. The next morning, Daewon left at his usual time. Alice waited an hour, then dressed in casual clothes. Jeans, sweater, nothing that screamed Mrs. Choi. She told the building security she was going shopping. They nodded. Daewon had probably told them to let her come and go. Testing her, seeing if she'd run. She took a taxi to Bukchon. The traditional village was touristy, crowded, good for hiding in plain sight. At exactly 2 p.m., she stood outside a Hanok tea house. Hyun-woo appeared from inside. He looked exhausted, haunted. Nothing like the angry man from the dinner. "You came," he said quietly. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't." He led her inside. They sat in a private room, traditional floor seating, and paper walls. Somewhere private. Somewhere they could talk without being overheard. Hyun-woo slid a folder across the table. Everything's in there. Police reports, medical records, phone records, security footage. Alice opened it. Her hands shook. Inside, documents, photos, evidence. Daewon's autopsy report. Cause of death, blunt force trauma, inconsistent with a simple car accident, suggestion of assault prior to death. Toxicology showing high levels of sedatives in her system. Police reports noting suspicious circumstances, but the case closed due to insufficient evidence and pressure from unnamed influential parties. Text messages between Daewon and someone named Emma. The last message sent 3 hours before her death. "He knows I'm leaving. I'm so scared if something happens to me it wasn't an accident." Security footage from the building where Daewon died. Timestamp showing Daewon leaving 20 minutes before Daewon's car was found. His clothes were different when he returned hours later. Alice's vision blurred. "This is murder." Hyun-woo's voice was hollow. "He killed her. I know it. Her family knows it. But the police won't touch him. He's too powerful, too connected. Why show me this? Because you're going to be next." Hyun-woo leaned forward. Daewon thought she could handle him, thought she could survive a year and walk away. But Daewon doesn't let go. When she tried to leave, he killed her rather than lose control. "How do I know this is real? That you didn't fabricate it to hurt your brother?" Hyun-woo pulled out his phone, showed her a video. Daewon, alive, recording a message. "My name is Lin Daewon. Today is November 3rd. If you're watching this, I'm probably dead. And Choi Daewon is probably the reason. I'm married to him, but it's not real. He trapped me, threatened my family. I tried to run 3 times. Each time he found me, hurt me, broke me. I'm going to try one more time. If I don't make it, please make sure he pays for what he's done. The video ended. Alice couldn't breathe. She recorded the day she died, Hyunwoo said. Sent it to me with instructions to only open it if something happened to her. He took a shaking breath. She was going to marry me after her contract with Daewon ended. We were in love, and he killed her for it. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Hyunwoo grabbed her hands. Run. Leave Korea. I'll help you. I have resources. Money. I can get you out safely. Tonight if necessary. Alice stared at the evidence, at Xiaowen's face in the video, at the proof that the man she'd married was a murderer. She should run, should take Hyunwoo's offer, should disappear before she became the next body at the bottom of a cliff. But something stopped her. A thought, terrible, probably fatal, but impossible to ignore. I need to think, she said. There's no time for thinking. Every day you stay is another day closer to ending up like her. I know, Alice stood, but I'm not Xiaowen, and I'm not going to run. Then what are you going to do? She looked at Hyunwoo, at this man who loved a woman and lost her to his brother's monstrosity. I'm going to destroy him, from the inside, the way he destroys everything else. That's suicide. Maybe. Alice headed for the door. Or maybe it's justice. She left before Hyunwoo could argue, took a taxi back to the penthouse, her mind racing, her heart was pounding. She had proof now, evidence. She could go to the police, the American embassy, someone. But Daewon was right. He owned everyone. The evidence would disappear. Hyunwoo would be discredited. And Alice would be dead. No. The only way to destroy a monster was to become something more monstrous. And Alice was about to become exactly that. Want to know how Alice destroys the man who destroyed everyone he touched? How can a woman with nothing defeat a billionaire with everything? Hit that subscribe button right now because part 2 drops in 3 days and you do not want to miss what happens when Alice stops playing victim and starts playing predator. Drop a comment telling me if you think she should run or fight. And smash that like button if you're ready for a revenge story that doesn't just settle scores, it rewrites them. See you in part 2. If your heart can handle it.